राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदना व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदनंदना व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदना व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदना व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे। जय जगन्नाथ जय बलादिवा जय सुभद्रा। जय गौरनिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरनिता। जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद। गोपमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभुराज का अष्टोत्तर श्रीमती रमंगे से भक्ति वेदांत संस्कृत की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभुराज का अष्टोत्तर श्रीमती रमंगे श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी रूपाद की जय। आनंद कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नमाचार्य श्रद्धास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगामय यमुनामय की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ऑल glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Prabhupada की जय। Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnaye Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidram Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Vishesha Sunyavad Pancham Sadestarane Prabhupada ki Jai. Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, verse number 5 to 8. Very important verses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Hari Om Tat Sat. Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, verse number 5. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samsayah. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samsayah. Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samsayah. Oh Lord, Antakale, at the end of life, Cha, also, Mam, me, Eva, certainly, Smaran, remembering, Muktva, quitting, Kalevaram, the body, Ya, he who, Prayati, goes, Sa, he, Madbhavam, my nature, Yati, achieves, No, not, Asti, there is, Atra, here, Samchayaha, doubt. Translation by Jivanges A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Repeat. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Such a significant point. Verse number 6. यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावम् त्यजति अन्ते कलेवरम् तं तं एवाइति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभाविता यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावम् त्यजति अन्ते कलेवरम् तं तं एवाइति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः यं यं वापि स्मरन् भावम् त्यजति अन्ते कलेवरम् तं तं एवाइति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः. Word to word. Yam yam, whatever, vapi, at all, smaran, remembering, bhavam, nature, tyajati, gives up, ante, at the end, kalevaram, this body, tam tam, similar, eva, certainly, eti, gets, kaunteya, O son of Kunti, sada, always, tat, that, bhava, state of being, bhavitaha, remembering. Translation by Sri Prabhupada. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Please repeat. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Verse number 7. तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मरेद्ध च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यसि असंशयः तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मरेद्ध च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यसि असंशयः तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मरेद्ध च मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिर्मामे वैश्यसि असंशयः Tasma, therefore, Sarveshu, at all, Kaleshu, times, Mam, me, Anusmara, go on remembering, Yudhya, fight, Cha, also, Mai, unto me, Arpita, surrendering, Mana, mind, Buddhi, intellect, Mam, unto me, Eva, surely, Eshasi, you will attain, Asamsaya, beyond a doubt. Translation by Sri Prabhupada. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Repeat. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without doubt. Verse number 8. अभ्यास योग युक्तेन चेतसा न अन्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् अभ्यास योग युक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यगामिना परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं याति पार्थानुचिन्तयन् Abhyasa yoga. In the practice of meditation, yuktena, being engaged, chetasa, by the mind and intelligence, na anyagamina, without their being deviated, paramam, the supreme, purusham, the personality of Godhead, divyam, transcendental, yati, one achieves, pardha, usanapruta, anuchintayan, constantly thinking of. Translation by Prabhupada. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering of me, undeviated from the path. He, O Partha, is sure to reach me. I repeat. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path. He, O Partha, is sure to reach me. So that's the last verse in this section. We'll try to understand. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjansalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupatamam Vande Sri Gurum Deyatarnu Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Iswaram Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं श्री रूप गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय गौर भक्त वृंद की जय थैंक यू ऑल फॉर joining. So, discussing today chapter 8, very important chapter, attaining the Supreme. So we should understand the context of this, why Lord Krishna is speaking from chapter number 7 to chapter 8, and understand what is describing here, and how is laying out the ground for all the middle six chapters. The rest of the chapters in Bhakti Yoga, especially, is that's why this section is very prominent. And that's why the title became this particular section here. So, in this chapter, first we'll go through the sections. This Lord Krishna is describing, as Arjuna has asked so far, um, seven questions until six chapters, or in the until till seven chapters. Seven chapter, not many questions, no questions. So, in the eighth chapter, at the end of seventh chapter, Lord Krishna ends with two verses that brought some questions in the mind of Arjuna. So that's how the chapter 8 starts, with Arjuna's questions 1 and 2, and then Lord Krishna's immediate answer to some of those questions. Three out of 8 questions he's asking, Lord Krishna answered for 5 of them, and then whole chapter is describing answers for the remaining 2 or 3 of them. So now let's look at the chapter sections of this chapter, and then we'll go through the further elaborating what Lord Krishna meant here. So first section, last week or before 2 weeks ago, we discussed 1 to 4 is Krishna's answers to Arjuna's questions, as because Arjuna is asking, and then Lord Krishna is replying. So that's the first section. Then the second section is today's verses we are covering, 5 to 8. Remembering Krishna at the time of death, which is the most prominent, most important. The essence of all the transcendental knowledge, the essence of all whatever we are doing, devotion service, that is the essence. And then that is a test, whether we are going to pass the exam or not. Right? If you are studying material education, then 10th class or intermediate or degree or a PhD, whatever we are studying, or even for the corporate exams or trainings we may take, if you cannot pass, then you can't get certificate. Same way, even we will be tested at the time of passing away from this body. So whether we'll attain success or not. So that's why Lord Krishna is speaking these verses, very, very important verses. 5 to 8 is remembering Krishna at the time of death. That is section 2. The next section is 9 to 13 is practice remembering through meditation. So Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Lord Krishna is speaking. That is the next section. And then Lord Krishna speaks 14 to 16, pure devotion service, remembrance of Krishna through bhakti process. And then 17 to 22, the next section, the glories of the supreme abode. And then the last section, 23 to 28, sixth section, supremacy of pure devotion in attaining Krishna. So in this way, this chapter is laid out. If you look at mainly the one by one, the progression, you can see first Lord Krishna is describing how to attain him. That's why the attaining the supreme chapter title. By remembering Lord Krishna at the time of leaving this body, at the time of death. Antakalecha mameva. Mameva. He didn't say that think of anything, you will attain me. Worship anybody, you will attain me. He didn't say that. Antakalecha mameva. Smaran muktva kalevram. As you remember me at the time of death, while giving up this body, then you will attain me. Then people may question that what happens if somebody thinks something else. That's the next question, next verse. Krishna is addressing that. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejati ante kalayavram. Tantam evaiti kaunte sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever somebody else, anyone who's thinking other than Krishna, he will attain that particular nature. Whatever he is thinking, that's what he will. So when we are giving up, leaving this body, it is like the so many frames of consciousness, so many thoughts, throughout the life, whatever we have done, many of those activities like a movie. So the frames, movie is made up of a lot of frames. They take so many pictures and videos, so many cuts. Then they combine together, it becomes the same way. The whole thing will reel in a fraction of seconds, whole life. So, but what we'll remember at the end of that fraction of second, we're just about to give up this body. So whether we'll remember Krishna or something else. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. So whatever he will remember, that's what he will attain. If he remembers Krishna, then he will attain Krishna. If he remembers something else, then that's what he will attain. So that's why we have to be very careful. So that means you can do whatever you like, and at the end of life, you are going to remember Krishna. That is not possible. So, yes, in material world, you may write exam and you may pass, but in this case, it's not possible. You cannot cheat Krishna. So, everything is happening. Karmana daiva netrena janto deho bhavate. So, everything is happening under the divine supervision. You can't cheat Krishna. It is not a material loss, is not conditioned living entity of this world, is the Supreme Lord Himself. So that's what Krishna's progression is explaining. One must remember, then he can attain. As one of the question, how uh, how a living entity can knows him within the body, and how he will attain at the time of death, how he will attain him, how one can remember him and attain him. So that's why Krishna immediately answering that question. Uh, from fifth verse. At the end of life, one must remember. That's the only way you can attain. Not only that, if you remember something else, that's what you will attain. And then we look at the example of Bharat Maharaj. We look at the example of Khatvanga Maharaj. What has happened in their life. Then we will understand more. And then further Krishna is elaborating Arjuna. Oh, then you may think, oh, that means I had to give up the because he's putting into context. Now Arjuna, what is he doing? He's on the battlefield. He was ready to give up and go on to forest fight because it's too much, too difficult to do. We're also in this battlefield of fighting with Maya. We're constantly going through so many troubles and difficulties and anxieties and agitations day after day. So does that mean we give up everything and just remember Krishna? And, no, that's why Krishna is stressing that next verse. The next verse, what Krishna is saying, Tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmaridhacha. Think of me, remember me, and also fight. He didn't say Arjuna, no. He just remember me, just leave this work, give up this fighting, go to forest. What you said is correct. Go to forest. No, he didn't say that. Tasmat Sarveshu College. He didn't say one day you chant, then next day you can neglect me and do something else. No. Tasmat Sarveshu College. Always. Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. Always think of me. Anusmara Yuddhacha. And fight also. You cannot give up the duty. At the same time, you have to think of me. Both you have to do. Tasmat Sarveshu College. Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. Mai Arpita Manobuddhir. How? Not only your physical body, not only your senses, gross senses, the hand and legs, and tongue and mouth, but also you should use the mind and intelligence. Mind and intelligence. Because mind is the summation of chitta, the heart. The mind and intelligence is buddhi, and there is determination. Intelligence gives determination. Mind is the center point of all the senses. This gross body, gross senses. Senses are always agitated because mind is not fixed. Because intelligence is not sharpened, so mind is not fixed. But if intelligence is sharpened, then the mind will be stable. Mind will not totter. Mind will be always fixed. So that's why Krishna is mentioning you must engage mind and intelligence also in not while doing a duty, not just physical body, but um, also mind and intelligence you should use. You have to use. Then only at the end of life, when you are giving up this body, you'll be able to think of me. And then further, Krishna is speaking. It's not only, oh, your fight is over now, 7 days or 18 days, whatever this, they fought, 18 action is. 11 and 7, and then they fought for 18 days. So then that means, so after that, then I can give up. I don't need to think. No. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. That means practice. You just not, I'll practice 10, 15 days because I'm in trouble, and then I'll leave and then I'll do something else. No, that's not going to work. There is no guarantee in that point. You're going to remember. So, Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa na anyagamana, without any diversion, deviation. Yati partha anuchintayan. Anu means following previous acharyas, following the shastra, and constantly, regularly, every day. Anuchintayan. Think of me. So, what is that? So that's now you understand the so the whole layout. The next 20 plus verses, Krishna is describing on these three verses, on three verses only. For rather, the next four chapters, 9, 10, 11, 12, is based on these verses only. Because Krishna has to describe how will you practice, how will you remember. He is immediately answering how can you practice, how can you remember at the time of death. He is immediately answering with these three verses. But the whole chapter is describing how to practice remembrance, how to practice the remembrance of Krishna at the time of death throughout the life, how we can practice through different steps. Because somebody could be karma yogi, somebody could be jnana yogi, somebody could be ashtanga yogi. So that's what Krishna is describing first step, because in the seventh chapter he has already described karma yogi. In this chapter, and also jnana yogi. Then in this chapter is describing practice through meditation, yoga. Ninth verse onwards he is talking about yoga Mr. Bhakti. First it is covering on the yoga. Those who are want to be in Ashtanga yoga process, how they can do. And then we talking about the next section through bhakti process, how we can remember at that time, how we should practice, what should be the practice, and how we can remember. So in this way, gradually laying out, and then at the end, we'll also see that what destination one may attain. One who is worshipping Krishna through this practice, what destination will attain. One who is worshipping demigods, or one who is worshipping forefathers, what planet they will go. So all these are described. Krishna is described so that you have clear idea. It's not just if you do this, you will attain me. If you don't do this, you will not. But Krishna is giving examples also. So worshipping demigod, they will go to demigod planet. Worshipping forefather Pita planet, they will go to the forefather planet. Somebody is worshipping ghosts and hobgoblins, that is the planet they will go. So clearly describing exactly. And the one who is passing away from this world, Devayana and Pitrayana, that I described just now. And then also, what time you will pass away. For devotees, not so much to be worried. What time will pass away, what time of the year, what day of the, nothing to be worried. Because he is always practicing. For him, Lord and Guru make sure he will remember Krishna. But for others, during the daytime, if he passes away, then he will not come back. But if he passes in the night time, then he has to come back. So all these Krishna is describing the whole process. So just on the based on three verses. And the ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, what is described, Krishna is describing again on this point only. How to practice, how you can remember him, because you have to associate with people, you have to use all the material resources in terms of the food, in terms of recreation, all these things. Then how you'll remember throughout these activities. That's why Lord Krishna is describing in terms of most confidential knowledge and opulence of the absolute. He is giving various examples. Wherever you see things, greatest things, wonderful things, how you can see that as Krishna's energy. Krishna is the source of all those things. Krishna is describing all these aspects, how we can remember him, and how one should practice through ninth, 10th, and then 11th chapter also, how Arjuna is able to see Krishna because of his practice, because of his being a great devotee. By that, because of that practice, he is able to see Krishna and who is the original source. Because he is asking in this also, as out of 8 questions, Who is the Adi Bhuta? What is Adi Bhuta? What is Adi Daiva? Who is the source of all demigods? So Adi Daiva. Is the Indra is the master of all the sacrifice, or is the Vishnu? So the Adi Yajna, Adi Daiva, and then he is Adi Yajna. He is asking. So that's why he's describing, because who is the master of all. So in terms of the universal form, he's showing the universal form in the 11th chapter. And then he showed two-handed form, four-handed form of Lord Narayana. And then he showed the original form of two-handed form of Krishna. Because from whom Lord Narayana is coming, from whom this universal form is coming, from whom this material world is also coming. So everything is coming. So Lord is showing that example, who is the actual really source. So in the 11th chapter and the 12th chapter, Krishna is describing various types of devotion service by the sadhana bhakti through the practice of regulative principles, rules and regulations. He is describing spontaneous, just like the gopis of Vrindavan, Uddhava, Arjuna, Pandavas, Prahlad Maharaj, all these great devotees, they're able to remember Krishna, they're able to think of Krishna, spontaneously. They don't need to go through rules and regulations, especially the gopis of Vrindavan, the highest level. They are spontaneously Yashodamai, as we are in the Kartik month, Nanda and Yashoda. They are constantly thinking of Krishna 24 by 7. So they don't need to go through these rules and regulations by the sadhana bhakti. They're already in Ragatmika bhakti, Raganoga bhakti, spontaneous devotion. And then describing by the, if you cannot perform by the sadhana bhakti, how you can work for me and then indirectly work for me, offer your results to me. If you cannot do that, study about me through the books. So in this way, Krishna is giving various ways. If you cannot do this, five, 6 ways. And then Krishna is describing by your practice, you should develop qualities. What is the dearmost to him in terms of the last 8 verses of the 12th chapter, 20 verses. But the basis of all these chapters now onward, from all the way from 8th to 12th, fundamentals are these 3 verses. Very, very important verses. So that's why one must practice. Anta Kalecha Mama, that means practice is very important of this process of devotion service. Is very important. Otherwise, there is no way we can remember Krishna. And there is easy process for Kali Yuga that Lord is describing throughout this 8th chapter, 9th chapter. And you will see in Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy name of the Lord is the prescribed method in this Kali Yuga. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam gives, even at the last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is describing that aspect. So, नाम संकीर्तनमस्य सर्वपाप प्रणाशनम pranamo dukkha sama tannamami harim param. By simply chanting the holy name of the Lord, we'll be able to be recovered, all the distress, all the inabilities, everything can be nullified. Nama Sankirtan, by chanting the holy name of the Lord and the association of devotees. Sarva Papa Pranasam, all the sinful act, not only this life, but many lifetimes we have committed, because each lifetime only some karma is given. We can't sustain our lives otherwise. So, but by performing this chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You read the purport, verse number 5, Prabhupada, what is he describing? 2 times he's literally writing Hare Krishna Mahamantra whole thing, 2 times. Because that is the process. That is the process. And we'll see through the various examples also. So now let's come back, step back, as in the chapter 7, in the knowledge of absolute. At the end of chapter 7, Lord Krishna is describing Esham antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda mohan mukta bhajante mam drudavrata. If you want to be determined, if you want to be fixed up in anything, especially not anything. If you want to be fixed up on me, on Krishna, if you want to follow me, attain me, if you want to practice of thinking of me, then you have to gradually give up the sinful activities. Isham antagatam papam, sinful activities. So by this process, by gradually as you follow the process, you have to give up sinful activities. into completely zero simple activities. As you increase the positive activities of developing higher taste in chanting the holy name of the Lord, then you'll attain him. So that's why Krishna is described. And I am the source of all the Vedic knowledge. Uh, I am the source of all the demigods. He is mentioning that Jara Marana Mokshaya Mam Asritte Yatanti. This birth, death, old age, disease. Mokshaya Mam Asritte. One who is taking shelter of me, then he will be able to liberate himself. Jara Marana Mokshaya Mam Asritte Te Brahma Tad Vidu Krishna Adhyatmam Karma Chakra. He'll be removed from all the sufferings and he will attain me. So that's why Krishna has to speak. And then, and the last verse was Krishna is speaking in the last, in the seventh chapter at the end is, what is it? I forget. Adi Yajnam, Adi Daivam, Adi Yajnam, Te Prayana Kale Chapi Chamam, Te Vidur Yukta Cherosa. Sa Adi Bhotam, Adi Daivam Mam, Adi Yajnam Chaye Vidu, Prayana Kale Chapi Chamam, Te Vidur. Lord Krishna is Lord Arjuna. Lord Krishna is describing basically what one must one must know about because it's not that it is also you have to understand this question in Srimad Bhagavatam also described. Not just knowing about the material world, how it is manifested, how it works is not enough. Not knowing the spiritual about the Supreme Lord is not enough. That's why you will see in 7th chapter, Jnana and Vijnana. In 9th chapter, again, Jnana and Vijnana is used. Jnana means knowing about the Supreme Lord and his identity and his relation. But Vijnana means practicing it and realizing it. That is what Vijnana means. So Jnana is not enough. Knowing just Supreme Lord, his position, his place where he lives, what pastimes he performs, but what are we going to do about it? So the practice is very important. So that's why Vijnana. So this is everywhere in throughout, even in the Upanishads. In the Isha Upanishad is clearly described about how to be liberated. In verse number, I think 11, Vidya and Avidya, ignorance and transcendental knowledge. One who is covered by the ignorance, then he will not be able to be liberated from birth, death, old age, disease. One must need this Vijnana. Jnana and knowing that about Supreme Lord and our Jiva and our relationship, but also acting on the platform and realizing it. So that's a practice is very important. So that's how chapter 7 ends. Since Lord Krishna mentioned many aspects, Brahman in the 29th verse and 30th verse is using Adi Bhuta, Adi Daiva, Adi Yajna, and then Prayana Kale. So at the end of life, so all these raised questions in Arjuna. Mm, So how we can give up sinful activities, starting from there, 26 verse, Esha Mantagatam Papam. Then how we can give up false ego. So this all these questions are asked by Arjuna in the 8th chapter beginning. Kim Tad Brahma Tad Adhyatmam, Kim Karma Purushottama. So is because people may think that Arjuna and Krishna we are on the equal level. Krishna may say that we are on the equal level, we are friends. Why do you ask me? No, Krishna is that's why Arjuna is addressing Purushottama. No, I am the lowest, you are the highest. I am not in the same level as you. So that's why you have to remove the doubts. So that's why he's using Purushottama. And then Lord Krishna started answering these questions of 7 or 8 questions. First, he's asking about the Brahman. What is Brahman means? So then immediately Krishna is answering. Brahman is nothing but which is indestructible. The spirit soul is Brahman. But there is also Parabrahman. Parabrahman means is the supreme soul, super soul, the supreme Lord. He is Parabrahman. He is also indestructible, but he is not equal. In quality is same, soul and spirit, spirit soul and super soul is same, but in quantity is not same. Just like drop of water in an ocean, and the ocean is not same. Supreme Lord can never become conditioned, but the living entity is marginal, so small, minute. He can become conditioned because of the tatastha lakshana, marginal. We are marginal, so we can choose to go towards the Lord or towards the material world. So that's why we need to know both. The material position of the material world and the position of the Supreme Lord, spiritual world, understanding, and then how to act. All these things are important. Not just knowing one thing, but also to practice. So then the third and fourth Lord Krishna addresses about this what is Brahman and what is Parabrahman. So Brahman is not equal to Parabrahman. Soul can never become super soul. Soul can never become living entity. Jiva can never become God. So Jiva is always Jiva. Even when he is liberated, he attains the spiritual world. He can never become God. So he will attain his original Swarupa and his original relationship, whatever form, whether it's a tree or ant or a human being, male or female, whatever that Swarupa that will be revealed when he comes to the highest stage. That form and that relationship will be revealed later on through the Vaidhi sadhana bhakti by the mercy of Guru and spiritual Supreme Lord. So, in this way, Krishna is answering about this Brahman and Parabrahman. Then he is talking about Adi Atma. Atma is the soul, and then Adi Atma and Adi Buddha, constantly which is changing. This material manifestation is constantly changing. That is called Adi Buddha. Adi Atma is the spirit soul. And then Adi Deva is talking about the super soul and the this manifestation, the material manifestation is Virat Purusha. He is the source. He is Adi Deva. All the demigods are under him. The super soul. The super soul is also there in the hearts of demigods. They cannot be independent. They are not independent. They cannot give any boons without the permission of super soul. Only in the material world, super soul is there in the heart of each and every living entity, including demigods, highest to lowest. So that's the super soul is that's why Eva is used in that verse. As Paramatma is non-different from this Adi Daiva. Adi Daiva is nothing but the Virat Purusha. The whole this material manifestation is everywhere in each and every atom. Lord is there. Uh, Lord is present. So that's what Adi Daiva Lord is explaining in the fourth and fifth verses, third and fourth verses. And then the Adi Yajna, Lord Krishna is describing that actual real Purusha, real enjoyer of all the sacrifices is Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, not Indra. Indra is the chief administrative chief of demigods, but he is not the original, he is not the origin of all sacrifice. He is not the enjoyer of all sacrifice. He is also dependent on the Supreme Lord. So in this way, Krishna is just, and then last questions are how he is situated in the body, how we can know him, knowing Krishna, and at the end, how we can attain him. So that's why Krishna is addressing those two aspects in from verse number to 8 in brief, and then the whole chapter number 8 and the next all the way till 12th chapter, Krishna is describing how to practice this devotion service. Now, when we are in the diseased condition, so nobody likes to chant, nobody likes to take a prescription, nobody likes the disease, first of all. When he's admitted in the hospital, so when he's going to the doctor, he prescribes. Whether you like it or not like it, you know the serious condition of the disease, then you have no choice but to follow the prescription. Same way, this as Rupa Goswami explains, this स्यात् कृष्ण नाम चरितादि सीतापि अविद्य पित्तोपतप्त रसस्य न रोचिकनु किंतु आदराद अनुदिनं खलु सैव जुष्टा साध्वी क्रमात् तद्गत मूलहंत्री. Rupa Goswami is describing act of instruction, verse number 7. Just like the diseased person is conditioned, he has to be jaundice, especially the jaundice disease is giving example. He must, the only cure for jaundice, everything tastes bitter. But he has to take only remedy is natural remedy is sugar candy. That's what is describing in this verse. So by tasting sugar candy, taking sugar candy every day, gradually, his jaundice disease will be cured. Same way, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, even though we don't know, none of us like to chant the holy name. What is this chanting? Why should I chant? Nobody is doing why I should do chanting the holy name. So, because it has, we have to understand why we should chant, where it is coming from. This vibration is not coming from material world. Golokera Pramadana Harinam Sakhi, it is coming from spiritual world. So we'll go through the glories of the holy name. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is describing out of so many types of devotion service, what is the topmost. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing to great stalwart scholars, Prakash Ananda Saraswati, on this glories of the holy name. How important, especially for Kali Yuga, the topmost important process, chanting the holy name. So that's why here Rupa Goswami is describing one who is in the diseased condition, serious disease, then he must, as per jaundice, he has to take the sugar candy gradually in a week or 2 weeks or 1 month. He will be gradually cured from this jaundice disease and he will become normal. Same way, currently we are being conditioned by this material defects, conditioned by the anxiety, material anxieties, threefold, Adi Daiva Klesha, Adi Atmika Klesha, and Adi Bhautik Klesha, from our own mind and body and intelligence, from other natural catastrophes, from too much heat, too much cold, as winter starting, from the demigods that is coming, and then also other living entities. The bugs will bite, the snake will bite, so all the other living entities. In this way, there are three types of tapatraya, three types of miseries. Whether you like it or not like it, everybody in this material world has to face, including demigods. They're not prone to it. Anybody in this material world, they all have to go through this at a smaller degree or higher degree. That's the only matter, constantly changing. That also Shastra is giving in seventh canto, Narada Muni. Yudhishthira Maharaj explaining to Vasudev, Narada Muni describing, answering the question that how a living entity is changing the body. Just like the caterpillar is moving, caterpillar is coming, becoming a butterfly, constantly meditating, is moving, caterpillar is moving, giving up one leaf, entering on another leaf on a tree, and then gradually is meditating to become butterfly, then he becomes a butterfly. So just like he's giving up one leaf and entering another leaf, we also living entities constantly thinking of different material objects. So then we are giving up this body and taking another body. Constantly we are moving. So so same way, another example is also given as the earthworm. Uh, Worm constantly meditating on a bee. The bee, not earthworm. There is another worm. I forget the name. It is bee is confining this earthworm into a hole, and then that earthworm is constantly in fear and meditating on that bee. So then it becomes a bee in his next life because he's constantly remembering. So constantly remembering. So that's why Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami is also answering this, that how will you give up? Yeah, just like in Bhagavad Gita, as we are seeing, Krishna is describing that Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Manusmara Mayarpita Manobuddhir Mame is always. Same thing when, so now the examples is Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj was a great king. Then he left everything at a young age, 30 years old. Or before that, let's go through the Khatvanga Maharaj, great example. Khatvanga Maharaj was a great king. He was a great fighter. So one time when demigods were in trouble, then Khatvanga Maharaj has been called to fight on behalf of demigods. Then Khatvanga Maharaj left everything, the kingdom. He went to the demigod planet and he fought. Such a great devotee also. He never forgot prime duty though. He never forgot his prime duty of Krishna, remembering Krishna. Even though he was fighting, even though he was engaged in so many activities as a kingly duties, but he never forgot his actual prime duty. He never forgot his primary focus. Second is only to maintain, to perform his duties, but is always focused on Krishna. For Krishna is performing all activities. Then he went and fought with demigods. Then they won. Then demigods asked, please ask me some benediction. Then he asked Katwang Maharaj, because he's always focused on the primary duty. Because we are on the other side opposite. We are constantly focusing on how can I take up another job, how can I invest here and there, how can I buy a bigger home or another car or another cell phone, new phone came. Constantly thinking of material resources, which is not a problem, but which is the one which is constantly changing, as Krishna is describing Adi Bhuta, constantly changing. How you can going to become permanently happy? You can never become happy, attain happiness by constantly by attached to constantly changing things. So that's why Katwang Maharaj focus is primary, but doing all the activities just like a normal person. But that is not his attachment. So then he asked, just tell me how much time I have in this life. So then immediately demigod told, you have only 1 minute. So immediately he left the demigod planet. He came down to earthly planet. He remembered the Lord. So and then he went back to Godhead. This Parikshit Maharaj is being asked in 7 days, about to die in 7 days. He's been told by a Brahmana messenger came from Srungi. Then he's about to die. He came to the bank of Ganga. That time Sukadeva Goswami walks in. Sukadeva Goswami is asking Sukadeva Goswami, what I should do. I am about to die in 7 days. What I shouldn't do and what I should do. Then Sukadeva Goswami, first and foremost, is describing that one must chant the holy name of the Lord. Ichatam abhayam makuto bhayam. एतद् निर्विद्यमानानां इच्छताम् अकुतो भयम् योगिनाम् नृपनिर्णीतं हरेर् नामानुकीर्तनम्. Constantly chant and meditate on the holy name of the Lord. Whether you have desires, even if somebody who is full of desires, his whole life is full of desires, throughout the body, senses, everywhere he is full of desires. Even for him also, the prescription, the medicine is, then he quotes this example. Don't think that it is impossible to us. No, it is possible. And then he gives Katwang Maharaj only 1 minute. He just remembered Krishna, he went back to Godhead. He's giving that example. Second canto, chapter 1, verse number 13. Till 5 to 11, he is describing the details. Ultimately, you must remember, they are also same verse, exact same verse as verse number 7. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. There, Tasmat bhara sarvatma bhagavan isro hari. Srotavyasya kirtitavyasya smartavyasya ichita abhayam. If you want to be free from this material conditioning, you have to hear, you have to chant, glorify, srotavyasya and kirtitavyasya, and then what you have to do? Smartavyasya. If you don't hear, if you don't chant, what you are going to remember? We are going to remember what we have done throughout life, all the material activities. We will remember our wife, we will remember what advertisement we are watching, or whatever we are deep rooted attachment is there, for that thing only it will come. And because so that's why we have to make sure that our practice is there throughout our life. Nothing is too late. Even though we might have wasted 30, 40 years, we should start. Nothing is too late. And it is not impossible task. It is possible. So many examples has been given throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. And chanting the holy name of the Lord is the perfect process. And the Shastra is describing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing that even as here Parikshit Maharaj is describing, Tasmat Bhara Sarvatma, Srotavestak is hearing, chanting, and remembering. And then he concludes with this verse, constantly by, out of all this, constantly meditating on the chanting the holy name of the Lord, of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and remembering. Automatically, you will remember by that constant practice of chanting. So that's why we should not give up. And for this Kali Yuga, chanting of the holy name is the prescription given. Kalau tada hari kirtanat. For each yuga, there is yuga dharma, and this sankirtan is the holy yuga dharma for this Kali Yuga that is described in the Vedas. Now, when we look at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing to Prakasananda Saraswati. Prakasananda Saraswati was Mayavadi sannyasi, a great scholar. There is describing, is asking, hey, why are you sitting? You invited all these, one of them is devotee, Brahmana devotee, invited all these great scholars. Prakasananda Saraswati has so many thousands of followers, all great scholars in Vedanta. So he invited all of them. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting where we clean wash the feet. Then Prakash Saraswati said, why are you sitting at the dirty place? So then Mahaprabhu, and why are you chanting? Instead of reading Vedanta, you are sannyasi, you are a elevated soul, you are Narayana. Why are you chanting? Why are you chanting instead of reading Vedanta? Then Mahaprabhu himself is mentioned. about his spiritual master instruction. मूर्ख तुम्ही तुम्हार नाही का वेदांत अधिकार कृष्ण मंत्र जपा सदा यही मंत्र सार. You are a fool, he said. You are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy. Therefore, you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras and Vedic hymns. Further, he is describing, he is quoting. Acharya Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur quotes this verse. How by simply chanting the holy name, you understand, you read all 4 Vedas. You are reading all 4 Vedas. You don't need to read. Sometimes devotees also, let me read Vishnu Sahasranam, let me read this book, that book. No, you don't need to read this book and that book. You chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you are already reading all this. You read Bhagavad Gita, so practically apply and more increase. The ultimate aim of your reading, your engaging in the service of the deity, of the devotees, everything is to perfect our chanting the holy name of the Lord. The whole life should be how to perfect, how to actually hear properly, attentively, how to come to the clearing stage. There is Suddhanam, pure name chanting. One time chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you go back to Godhead. But we are not at that level. That is Suddhanam. And then there is Nam Abhas, clearing stage. And then the first one is offensive stage. Nam Aprad. Where we are doing with Apra, which is fine still. So that also will come to that. So where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing Rugvedo ata Yajurveda Samavedo api atarpana aditas tena yanokta harir iti aksharadvayam. A person who chants the 2 syllables of Hari, Hari, has already studied the 4 Vedas, Sama, Rug, and Yajur, and Atharveda. Further, he is describing to Prakashananda Saraswati about Kali Yuga specifically. Nama Vinu Kali Kale Nahi Ara Dharma, Sarva Mantra Sara Nama Yehi Shastra Marma. He is giving all the essence of all the scriptures. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this age of Kali, there is no religious principle other than chanting the holy name. Nama Vinu, without except the holy name, Kali Kale, there is no other dharma. So chanting of the holy, which is the essence of all Vedic hymns. This is the purport of all scriptures. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is describing. And then in Ajamil story, also in Canto 6, we see that even somebody, whatever stage, even somebody is chanting by laughing. Sometimes they see devotees and then they laugh. We see these Hare Krishnas. Even if they say like that, also still is getting benefit. This is Narada Muni or Maharaj is quoting. Sanketya parihasam va stovam helanam eva. Sukadeva Goswami is quoting. Sanketyam means just by indicating what is Hare Krishnas. Or parihasyam or jokingly. Or stovanam. It doesn't have really faith, but still just saying stovanam helanam eva. Vaikunta nama grahanam asesha ara vidu. Asesha I mean, so many sinful activities can be removed, nullified by chanting the holy name of the Lord. That has the power of the holy name. And later on also we see in Anjalila also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing out of all 9 types of devotion service, starting with hearing, Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedam. These are 9 types of devotion service, 9 angas of devotion service. Out of these 9, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing, so about this in the Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, I think Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami. Bhajanere madhye shrestha navavida bhakti Krishna prema Krishna dite dare mahashakti. So, Bhajanere madhye, out of bhajan means bhakti, out of 9, out of bhakti has so many limbs. Out of execution of devotions, Rupa Goswami gives 64 items. Out of all the so many types, 9 angas are prominent. Bhajanera Madhye Sreshta Navaveda Bhakti. Krishna Prema, which has the potency to give Krishna. It has potency. Krishna Prema, Krishna Dite Dare Mahashakti. This Navaveda Bhakti has a great potency to deliver Krishna, to attain Krishna for that conditioned soul, for the diseased person, just like the jaundice person. By simply chanting by taking the 9 types of 9 angas of devotion service. Then out of all these 9, what is prominent in Kali Yuga? Tara Madhya Sarva Shrestha Nama Sankirtan Niraparada Nama Loile Paye Premadam. Out of all these nine, the prominent, the most important is Nama Sankirtan. Nama Sankirtan Niraparada Nama Loilo Paye Premadam. So that means I will just simply imitate Haridas Thakur and I will simply sit and chant holy name alone. No, but because as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is again further giving the important things to be carrying in the heart. So that's all he is mentioning. Even though all the holy names are invested, where Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing all the holy names are invested, but I don't have any attraction for this holy name at all. So in the third, I think the fourth verse or fifth verse in Sikshastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing, and then he is describing one must have while chanting the holy name, he must have it is like a um, the bowls. You need to have your heart must have um, these things. One is the humility. One must always chant, never become proud. I'm a great devotee, or never become proud that I'm chanting. So nobody else is chanting. No, we shouldn't give up that false pride. As Trinadapi Sunichena Tarori was and tolerate always. There will be difficulty, there will be so many tests. That's why many times devotees who are going to there are different levels of clearance. Devotees who are coming to Krishna consciousness, they may be tested, whether through accident or health problem, this problem, that problem. Everybody goes through different tests. That is a clearing stage. Whether you are really fixed, Maya is always will test your own karma reactions. On top of it, Maya will use, Krishna will use the test, how faithful, and Maya will test whether we are really faithful or not. If we are not strong enough, then we may go back. That is the first level of clearance. Then, as we perform Krishna consciousness, then more tests will come. At the time of before initiation, also some more tests will come. So then after initiation, further tests, but different levels of clearance. There are different levels of clearance. Real anartha nivurti. So because many lifetimes of balance is there lying to be cleared up anarthas, then only we can come to perfection of Krishna prema. So that's why here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing that everything is invested, all the powers are invested in the holy name. So to develop taste for the holy name, one must hear in the association of devotees regularly. One must read Sri Prabhupada's books. Sometimes devotees fell down, but nothing is going to be lost. It's just for a matter of time. It could be a life, one life or two lives, but he will continue where he left off. But why to take the chance? Why to not follow? Those who simply only chanted, they didn't read, they didn't hear, they didn't do service. Then, because they didn't clearly, they don't have a strong faith, then they give up the chanting also and fall down, went back to this material life, what they were doing previously. Or just simply reading, but in the association of your devotees, you must read and hear and also chant, because Yodharma for this is chanting. And along with the chanting, you must read and hear, especially Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the very important books. Then, as you hear and read, then your actual strong faith and how to practice it, how to apply it. If you don't know the application, because every day, as Krishna is mentioning here, you must fight. You cannot give up your prescribed duty. Krishna is stressing that point again and again. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also told Sanatana Goswami, why are you thinking to give up this body? Because as he walked throughout he walked on the sand, before that also, before entering into Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, is everywhere, I think, not blisters, he drank some wrong water. Somehow his body is itching and is ready to give up. Let me jump under the Rathayatra cart and give up this body. Then Mahaprabhu told, no, this body doesn't belong to you. You have given to me already at the time of initiation. This doesn't belong to you. So how can you give up this body? I have so many duties by using through your body. I have so many duties to perform. So how can you give up this body independently? So that's why this body is given by Krishna. Everything is given by Krishna, including this body. Because without super soul, there is no soul in this. You cannot live. Super soul is the one which is giving energy. Scientists cannot describe what these red corpuscles, where red corpuscles getting energy. How? Especially one who is following Ekadha Nirjal, but still we are doing so many service and other things. Where the energy is coming? You can ask others who are not following. Fast without taking any water and try to do something. You'll hardly do. You'll not have energy. But where the energy is coming from? That's why even the scientists, so many people told Prabhupada, how come your devotees are bright faced? Where the energy is coming from? Where the strength and intelligence, everything is coming from the super soul. By performing devotion service as a primary focus while doing prescribed duties, your material job and taking care of family and everything else, because of the primary focus is Krishna, the practice is there, then that's why Lord Krishna is through Super Soul is arranging everything. His job, his family, his health, everything Lord Krishna is arranging. That doesn't mean everything will be rosy and perfect. No, there will be difficulties, there will be tests, because it is only to increase. That's why another story to be considered. This purport Prabhupada is explaining, giving Bharat Maharaj example. Why? Because Lord wants to increase the relation, rasa, attachment to him for Bharat Maharaj, and he wants to bring him sooner. Generally, it takes few lifetimes to bring to Krishna, to attain Krishna, if one who is not serious. So Bharat Maharaj left his kingdom at 30 years or so. He left his wife and everything, and then he went to perform severe austerities and everything. This is Rishabhadev's son. Then he became. Then he at the end when he was at the Bhava stage, not even small. आदौ श्रद्धा तथा साधुसंगो तथा भजन क्रिया तथा अनर्थ निवृत्ति तथा निष्ठा रुचि आसक्ति भाव कृष्ण प्रेम साधकानाम अयम प्रेमनो प्रादुर्भावेत क्रम. There is step by step, starting from आदौ श्रद्धा, faith, strengthening the faith, then you associate with devotees, then the third step is bhajan kriya initiation, then the real anartha nivritti will start, and then nishtha fixed up, completely fixed up, and ruchi, it start developing actual real taste, then asakti, complete attachment to the Lord, and bhava. At the asakti and bhava stage, that's when actually you'll be able to get communication with the Lord. You may see for a blink of eye, for a fraction of seconds, you may see Lord, and then he will disappear to just to increase attachment for the Lord. Lord will do in asakti and bhava, not before stage. And so in Bharat Maharaj also in that stage, asakti and bhava stage. But there he forgot the practice. That's why until you attain Krishna Prema, practice can never be given up at any point of time. Your primary focus should not be given up at any point of time. Whatever duty you are brushing the teeth or evacuating or taking bath or working in the office or going to the grocery shop, your primary focus, everything you are doing for Krishna and Guru. That is the primary focus. Putting the tilak from beginning to end. Morning when we wake up, when we are sleeping, the focus is I am doing it for Krishna. I am taking care of family. I am doing for Krishna. So in this way, we should train our mind and intelligence day after day. By this practice, then always we will be focused on one thing. Center will be Krishna. Everything else will become perfect by this kind of practice. As Bharat Maharaj in this way he practiced it, but then suddenly he became attached because it is not based on ordinary living entity. No. So Acharya has explained it is by prarabdha karma, by Lord wants to increase his attachment for Bharat Maharaj. He wants to bring him sooner. So, and he wants to show the example through this devotee also to the whole world. How to practice. How one shouldn't give up prescribed duties at any point of time till his last breath, till he attain Krishna Prema. Even then, also, actual real devotion service starts in Vaikuntha in spiritual world. Even for that matter, in this world also, even one may attain spiritual, complete, pure state. Like Pandavas, which is mentioned in the same body they attained, they went to Vaikuntha. Pure devotees, for special cases, they could attain them to spiritual body and be in this world also. The pure devotees, Nityasiddhas, Sri Prabhupada, and spiritual master. Anyway, Bharat Maharaj suddenly, as he is practicing every day, then he saw one day this deer, mm, uh, female deer, was carrying pregnant, and then he was taking drinking water, and suddenly a lion roared like anything, tiger or lion. Then with that fear, even he didn't, he was thirsty, still he didn't finish, and immediately in a fear, great fear, he jumped like anything. So by that process, in that fear, he lost because of that fear. Then he was jumping. Then this pregnancy, the baby who was in the womb came out. from that fear, like abortion. Came out and fell in the lake, fell in that river. And then it also died. That deer, when he jumped and he jumped into the wrong place cave because of fear. Deer is generally very fearful, always looking here and there, who's coming, who's going to kill, whether a hunter or lion or tiger, is always looking at constantly. In that way, then Bharat Maharaj seeing this, oh, such a small baby deer, nobody's there. Then how will he protect himself? How will he survive? Then he went and took the deer, which is not a problem. There is, Lord Krishna is always mentioning that you should be compassionate, you should serve others, serve your parents, serve your friends. This is always there. There is no point. Krishna never said that you should give up your family, you should give up your friends. No. Krishna is always stressing you should rather be in the association, you shall help others, be compassionate, be friendly, be generous. Krishna is always stressing. Bharat Maharaj also did that, but he forgot his prescribed duties. He forgot the primary focus of Krishna. So he was attached to deer such an extent as he was thinking puja, he was doing whatever he's doing is oh, what would have happened to this deer? Oh, tigers might have ate, or some wolves might have ate, fox might have ate, or he might not have slept properly. So whether he is protected or not, constantly whole day he became so much attached, and deer also used to come and touch him and do so many things because he was constantly deer and him only alone. They're serving, both are serving agents. So then automatically even the animals develop that relationship, as we see in US especially. The dogs and cats are there, they are maintaining within the home, then how they are attached, because they are constantly feeding, constantly in relation, then naturally they will feel attached and they develop that attachment and rasa. Same way this deer also developed that attachment to the Bharat Maharaj, and Bharat Maharaj also attached so much so that he is constantly thinking. To an extent, in few days, completely no chanting, no worship, nothing, zero. Constantly he was hugging and feeding and constantly thinking of, oh, where is my deer, where is this, constantly thinking about deer only. The whole 8th chapter, 5th canto, 8th chapter, whole chapter, almost 30 verses or so, describing what he is thinking, how he is thinking of this deer. Forgot Krishna, forgot Guru, forgot the process, everything. He became primary and second, everything is only dear. So that's what it come to. So that's why we should never give up. But this is an example Lord Krishna wants to teach. In reality, Bharat Maharaj is not a conditioned soul. Bharat Maharaj is at an elevated stage. Bharat Maharaj, to bring him to the highest level, bring him to spiritual world, Lord Krishna has made this plan of in 2 lives he is going to come back to me. So in this life, next life, because then all of a sudden the deer died one day. Then Bharat Maharaj thinking of the deer, Bharat Maharaj also left. Then as he was thinking of the Bhav Smaran Bhavam, that's what he'll attain. That's what Krishna, Lord Prabhupada is mentioning. One must be situated in mode of goodness and practice the chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. Because otherwise, Urdhvam Gachanti Satvastha. If you are in mode of goodness, you go to higher planet. Madhya Gichanti Rajasa. If you are in passion, you are in middle planet. If you perform abominably, if you are in the mode of ignorance, Jagannath Guru Adho Gachan Tamsa, you will go downward planet. That means there is no scope. He can't even chant. Lower planets, there is no scope, there is no facility. You will not even have any inclination, or even if somebody forces you, you cannot do, because that facility is not even there. So that's why earthly planet is the same place. That's why demigods also wants to come to the earthly planet to be, to go back. It is a launching pad, earthly planet, because not too much opulent, at the same time it's austere, and it helps one to remember Krishna. Or constantly Maya's slap, Maya's whip is always being reminded of Krishna, how difficult it is of this material world. Anyway, so the Bharat Maharaj in this way became a deer in the next life. Then, but he remembered the past because he was through the mercy of the Lord, he was able to remember, because Lord wants him to go through this process, quick process. So that's why, as a deer, also he could remember what he has done a mistake, how he became a deer body. Then this time he didn't forgot. Then he was constantly thinking of the Lord. Then he attained Brahman. He became a Brahmana. Jada Bharata is called in the second life. Then from there he attained Vaikuntha. So in 2 lives he attained. From Bhava stage he fell down and became a deer, and because that's what he absorbed in. primary focus is lost, secondary focus completely deer only completely attached because of that. So that's why we shouldn't, the example teaching is we shouldn't do the same mistake. We shouldn't become attached to so much so that's what we will become. As Prabhupada is sending a message other day we read. One who is too much attached to his home or a cat or a dog or whatever is there in the home, if he is too much attached, what he will become? That is what will, whatever we are too much deeply attached, that's what we'll remember. Everything else you will not remember Krishna. Last minute, last second before giving up this body, you will not remember Krishna. Because of deep attachment on whatever object is there, whatever primary focus we are doing every day on a day-to-day basis, that's what we'll remember. So at the end of life, with the practice, the test will come, we will fail. So that's why to make sure that we will pass successfully, we must make sure that chanting of the holy name is there. And then primary, any duty we are performing, Krishna is in the focus, is the center, is the primary. By through him only I am getting the money, through him only I am getting this body, through him only my wife is there, my kids are there, my home is there, my mortgage is there. Everything through him only I am able to maintain myself. Everything he is arranging. I am only just a servant. I am just doing it. And but he is arranging everything by his mercy only everything. In this way, when we perform everyday practice, then automatically we'll never forget. At any point of time, we'll never forget. We'll never become puffed up or proud. Not be looking, longing for this investment or that investment or this and that and so many things. Will not be hankering for things. No lamentation. So no desires, no material desires. We become vitrishna. We become. That means we have spiritual desires. That means we don't give up the job, we don't give up the family, but everything will be transformed into spiritual desires. So this way we can practice. That's what Krishna is stressing this point here. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. When we give up this body by this practice, that's why Parikshit Sukadeva Goswami is describing the same aspect. Tasmat Sarveshu Kalesh, as Krishna is describing. And then he is describing further. Ante Narayana Smriti, whatever you may do, whether mystic perfection or the Jnana Yoga Prasa or Ashtanga Yoga Prasa, whatever you may do, but ultimate aim is you have to remember Lord Narayana, Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. Otherwise, it's a simply waste of time. Srama yevahi kevalam. Then whatever you did, because that's what you are going to be again next life as caterpillar is changing from one leaf to another leaf, giving up. Then that's what we are going to give up this body and take up another body. That's why in the verse number 3, I forgot to tell. We'll quickly close. There is a process given in Chandogya Upanishad. Lord Krishna is giving only in a brief when he's answering. Adi Bhuta constantly changing. What is describing? There are 5 sacrificial offerings and there is 5 sacrificial fires. How the living entity, why the one shouldn't eat grain on the Ekadasi? Because the living entity is, the soul is taking birth through grain. That's why we shouldn't take grains on Ekadasi. So, as per as this sacrificial offering is mentioned, one will go to the heavenly planets because as he performs this, some pious credits are there. He will go to heavenly planet to enjoy higher living, higher species of life, higher planets, and go and enjoy. So that's why the sacrificial offerings is in the form of heavenly planets, and then in terms of the rain, then the rains and the cloud and the rain, and then the grain, because when the rain comes down, because you go to the heavenly planets, you enjoy for some time, some years, and when the pious credits are diminished, pious credits are used up, you have some bank balance of pious credits, you have $1,000, whatever, $10,000. When that is used up, you have no more balance. So then you have to come to fall down from there. So that's why through heavenly planets and then through the clouds and rain, then rain comes down, rain falls down. Then the plant, the grains are grown, grains are produced, the grains are eaten by man. So that's why the sacrificial offerings are the heavenly planets and the rain and the grains, the man and female, man and woman. So the grains are eaten by a man and then engaged in the union with female. Then the soul is passed through that grain. The grain, the living, different living species are waiting for the for that to enter into that particular time, entering into. That's why everything must be done. That's why there are different samskaras depending on what the person has done in this particular family. So that particular soul is waiting to enter into this material world through that specific personalities, male and female, in that particular family. Based on his karma, everything has to match. So accordingly, then is entering. Purusha prakrutisto bhunte prakriti jair gunan Karanam Gunasanga Sad Asad Janma is entering into this lower species or higher species or earthly planet, depending on what kind of karma is carrying. So accordingly, is ready, waiting for that, so waiting to enter into that particular family. So that's why one must be careful in how, what kind of focus you should have, and how you should perform his activities. Not make the same mistakes as Bharat Maharaj, and rather follow Khatvanga Maharaj, as Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami describing the example that primary focus should be there. Whatever duties we may perform anywhere and everywhere, but always don't lose the focus and practice it. Practice the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, especially. That will become the then that way, yeah, this Chandogya Upanishad describing these five sacrificial offerings described, and then five types of fire is described also. Let me look at it. I forget the five sacrificial fire. The five sacrificial offerings are described. Right. Yeah, one is the heavenly planets and the rain, the grains, male and female. Other one I forget. But anyway, so in this way, so the how the soul is passing through the grain, soul is entering through the grain. So that's why grains are. That's why when we take Krishna Prasadam, when it is offered to Krishna, then it is not so much impure. It is purified. But when it is not, that's why when we go out, we take salads or some fruits, something which is not grain. Especially on Ekadashi, we should avoid taking grains specifically. We should take non-grain food. So many varieties are there in Ekadashi. So today being Ekadasi, it's very important to follow this process. Anyway, we are already over time, but in this way, Lord Krishna is stressing the point of chanting the holy name of the Lord is the one must practice. That's why ninth chapter is directly describing about that Satatam Kirtayantumam 24/7, as already is described. Tasma Sarveshu College is describing. Think of how else you're going to think. Krishna already said that in Kali Yuga, Kalauta Harikirtanat is described, chanting the holy name of the Yuga Dharma, then if Krishna is saying Tasma Sarvesh Kales, always chant, think of me. How will you think? By chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the Yuga Dharma. So that's when ninth chapter is clearly giving the direct verse of Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatam Tas Dridavrutam. So always chant my glories. That is the chanting of Hare Krishna. And Bhagavatam gives that verse of this the chanting of the holy name Hare Krishna Mahamantra in Kali Santaran Upanishad and others. So, that is the main essence of this verses. How to practice, how to, what kind of focus we should have in our day-to-day practice. Uh, that way we can attain Krishna. Any quick questions? We'll end already 8:25. 1 minute, let me unmute. Any questions? Anyone has questions? You can unmute yourself. If not, we'll end.